Hey everyone, WJ3B here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be taking you through my very first field day. What gear I packed, the contacts that I made, what went sideways, and the one piece of equipment that I will never bring again. Let's get into it. Let's start out with the gear. Being that it was my first field day, I wanted to keep it simple but functional. I brought my Yaesu FT710, which by the way is my favorite radio right now. I got it as a gift for getting my license, and if you're on the fence or you don't know where to start when it comes to looking at HF rigs, definitely consider the 710 because it's a great little radio. I also brought a LifePo 4 battery that was connected to a solar panel to charge. I brought folding tables, chairs, plenty of water, and for antennas, I brought an HF portable telescopic antenna. I'll go over that later, and I have a few thoughts about that antenna that I'll share with you. I also brought snacks, chargers, headphones, my logbook, my laptop, and plenty of cables. Always bring more cables and adapters than you think you might need. You never know when that one random obscure cord that you've got kept in your drawer for 30 years might actually come in handy. So there's nothing wrong with bringing more cables than you think you might actually use. One of my local clubs got started at around 8 a.m. They were setting up at one of our local state parks, and I arrived and got set up at around 9 a.m. I worked a few stations on FT8, which is currently my favorite mode to use. I met some of the familiar voices that I hear on the radio, and I answered some of the questions that a few of our new ham radio operators had. I did have to pack it up early though. I had to leave at around noon because I had to go across town and administer one of the exams at 1 o'clock, which everyone at the session passed, so congrats new hams. After the test, we all met back outside and we got to see the local emergency communications trailer, some of the equipment that was on the trailer. We got to see other people's portable setups. It was really cool, and again, I got to meet more hams that I know their voice, but I've never met them in person, and everyone was just really, really friendly, and it was nice. I headed back home at around 2:30. I know that field day just started at 2, our local time, but I saw there was a really dark and very large rain cloud in the distance, and I didn't want to get caught in that. So I left and I came home at around 3 o'clock and I popped right back on the air. The bands were so busy. I was on 20 meters and I could not find a free space in the band to try and call CQ. The few times that I did, I was getting stepped over by others, and I understand it's a major weekend for ham radio. I mean, it was still fun. I made some contacts. I think the furthest I got was I had a station about 1,200 miles away, which is pretty cool. Like I said, it was just so busy. I think the entire weekend I only made about 14 or 15 contacts, but I'm okay with that. For it being my first, I still had a ton of fun, and it was a great experience. A few of the things that I learned from my first field day experience was definitely bring more chairs. You can never have enough chairs. People typically don't want to sit on the grass if they don't have to. You know, you don't know what the seating situation is going to look like, especially if it's at a place that you've never been to and you don't know how many people are going to show up. I normally keep 2 chairs in the trunk of my car. I have a bigger SUV, so it just kind of stays there, so I don't have to worry about bringing it back and forth into the home and stuff. A way to stay cool if you live in the South especially. I was under a pavilion at both locations, but if you live in a very humid area like I do, it doesn't matter how much shade you're under, it's still gonna get hot. It's uncomfortable, and then you're just not having fun. So a way to cool off is gonna be best. I wish I would have brought a fan, or even one of those misting fans that you see at the theme parks. That would have been nice to have. The second thing I learned is to make sure all your cables are labeled. I normally do that at home because I'm a very organized person. I have a label maker that I purchased just for all my cables, but I wasn't prepared all that well when I was packing. I just woke up the morning of and threw everything together in that black box back there. When I was setting up, I was kind of all over the place trying to find, certain cords. So make sure your cables are labeled. It makes setup and takedown a lot easier. The third thing that I learned is make sure to test all your equipment before you leave. I would say preferably the night before. That way you're not like me and rushing around and hoping that things work when you get there. My portable antenna failed and I didn't bring it back up. Luckily, somebody else had a spare end fed, so we just threw that on a tree and we were able to get me back up on the air. But I definitely should have made sure that my antenna worked before I got there, because in a survival situation, you may not have somebody to ask to borrow their antenna. So it's always good to make sure that you've got all that covered. All right, time for a little bit of a rant. Let's talk about this HF portable antenna that I brought and why it failed. I bought the Moonraker SPX 100 plug and go HF portable antenna. It claims to cover 6 through 80 meters, and as a beginner with zero technical experience, I thought it sounded like a great product for somebody like me. And boy, was I mistaken. So I've taken this out of the packaging. As you can see, it's just a straight antenna. It does extend. It comes with a little chart that tells you how long to extend it. It does come with these little jumper cables, and you would put it in whichever slot the guide tells you to put it in, and then you hook it to your radio and you should be good to go. I say should because I was not good to go with this. First impression, these jumper cables, they don't look very sturdy. They look incredibly flimsy and pretty sketchy. So that was my first red flag. Second is the quality of the build was not that great. Within a week of me owning this thing, the connector had fallen off of the product. The glue underneath this black piece right here, I guess, lost its adhesiveness and the whole thing just fell off. So I had to reattach that. And then the third thing is, if you notice, this is a straight vertical antenna, and the back of my radio is also straight and vertical. So I had to purchase separately a 90-degree connector in order to put this onto my radio. This thing would not stay straight. Look at it. This is what it looked like. And I could not get a stable SWR on my rig at all. So I wasn't even at the park for an hour and I took this thing off and I said, I can't do this. We're not using this antenna ever again. I quickly got frustrated with this thing, disconnected it, and like I said, my friend let me borrow his end fed, and I put this Moonraker away, plugged the end fed in, we put that up over a tree, and we were back online in less than 5 minutes. I spent more time fiddling with this antenna and making it just stand up straight than I did making contacts. I knew right off the bat that this was not going to be a good antenna. This thing was absolutely useless. Now I'm sure it might work for others, and maybe I just got a defective one. I always like to see the positive side of things, but yeah, this is actually the second time that I've used this antenna. I figured, oh, maybe, different environments, maybe it'll work this time, but I was a little too hopeful. Didn't work out for me. I will say I'm pretty disappointed with this thing, especially for the price that I paid for it. I understand that it's a compromise antenna, but for $80, $90, I feel like I should at least be able to get something operational. I was not able to transmit or receive whatsoever with this thing. So this was a complete waste of my money. And it's pretty much a paperweight for me at this point. So if you're thinking about going mobile for your HF purposes, I would seriously consider other options. Or if you have this and you haven't quite tested it out yet, I would definitely at least bring a backup antenna because this was definitely a letdown for me. Well, my first field day is in the books, and I'm quite satisfied with how it turned out, all things considered. There were a few hiccups here and there, but that's to be expected with anything. Next time, I'll just be more prepared. I'll test all my equipment out. I'll make sure I have the right equipment. I will not be bringing that antenna with me, ever. You know, I'm looking forward to the next one. It's already in my calendar, and I hope to catch some of you on the air. If you've got any first-time field day stories or any equipment failures that you think are crazier than my story, leave a comment down below, and I'd love to see what your first field day was like. As always, this is WJ3B. Thanks for watching. Bye.